Hey guys, we are back again with another video. How y'all doing this morning? We've got some Tazo sweet orange tea that we're going to be working with today. And I'm excited because I do have some pictures of the cabin to show you guys. So I thought today we'll do a little cabin talk. We'll talk about how it's been living on that cabin, working with that. You know, 3 pumps of my French vanilla or vanilla. This has a combination of French and regular vanilla. Man, I'm telling you, I can't wait to get my stand. So I keep trying to pump it for effect. And honey, I've been missing the doggone thing. There we go. But my stand is coming. It's just not here yet. So we're just going to have to wait a few more days. Now, I don't put cream in my orange or my fruit flavored teas. I just take them straight. Okay? So I am going to get my journal and do a little quiet time. I've got my Bible over here. And then I'll come back and we'll get to talking about this here cabin. See you in a second. Hello guys, we are back. Did a little bit of quiet time. And I promised you guys we would talk about the cabin. So I do have some pictures for you. So we'll do a little bit of cabin talk today. Now, if you guys have ever been involved in a building project with your significant other, raise your hand. And tell me if that is not the most challenging thing you could ever do. It's a whole thing. It is a whole thing. So today I want to talk to you guys about the frustration of getting a cabin built. We have been working for probably about a decade on and off. We purchased the land somewhere around 2016. I'm going to chronicle this a little bit better because all my girlfriends are like, girl, you should be out there taking videos. You should be out there taking pictures. You should be letting everybody know how you're doing all this stuff. And that was really something that I thought about doing. But girl, it was just hard for me always to go out there and stay focused. This here ADHD be ADHDing. And I was driving my husband crazy, girl. I was driving him crazy. So I can't wait till I get a stand, y'all, because I'm tired of holding this video up like this all wobbly. But y'all just bear with me. The stand should be coming hopefully Wednesday, in about two or three more days. So we're just going to work with it until we get it. But I wanted to tell you guys that it's taken us about a decade. We're now in the year of 2026 of our Lord and Savior. And I think we started this project in 2016. We got the land, and we sort of just sat on the land for probably about 2 years before we knew exactly what we wanted to do with it and, you know, how we wanted everything to work out. And so we started actually building on it, I don't know, maybe by 2018, we were actively clearing land and trying to get our idea about what we wanted. And then yours truly here decided she wanted a cabin. I didn't want a sticking frame. I wanted a cabin. And my husband kept telling me, now, honey, you know, if we get a cabin, that's going to take a lot longer. You know, cabins are something you have to keep up. They age a different way. They don't do what regular houses do. You sure you want a cabin? I was like, yeah, I want a cabin. If I'm going to be in the woods, I want a cabin in the woods. Because I was thinking I wanted something sturdy. Because where we live, they have a lot of really strong winds. And I thought, I need to have, you know, something that's sturdy. And at the time, I just didn't understand that regular stick and frame houses can be pretty sturdy if they're built right. But I just something was just in me about a cabin. So here we are today. Lord, 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 did I know that it was going to be so hard trying to get this cabin up, trying to find builders, trying to, figure out how to get the roofing done, because we got a cabin kit. And the cabin kit came with most everything, but things like the roofing needed to be done. We couldn't do it. We had to find someone to do it. It just was a whole thing. And so for those of you guys that don't know, we purchased untouched land. So we had to go in and clear it. We've had to put in all the things. So my husband had to, do the solar for the home. We have tried to get a well put here. We can't find anybody that's willing to come all the way out here to do a well. So that's part of what I have to do today, is I have to try to find somebody that's willing to come all the way out where we are to dig the well. Now, where we are is not very far. I mean, there are other people out there with property who've bought, homes, and they're, going, I guess some people call it off grid, but we can't seem to get them to come where we are because there's this really, for lack of a better word, gnarly, raggedy hill that, let me do this, it looks like I have no clothes on. There's this gnarly, raggedy hill that they would have to get their equipment to come down. And they don't want to do that because it could damage their machines, and I totally get it. So we have been looking for 8 years to try to find somebody to get a well in place for us. But then we kind of got to the point where it was like, okay, well, we'll just, we'll wait on it because we were dealing with some other stuff. And we just sort of put a pause on, getting all this stuff done. And so now here we are. The clock is ticking again. And so I'm excited, but I'm also like, what does this mean? So once we get everything situated, our property it'll be fully off grid. We won't have an electric bill. We won't have a water bill. We won't have, I don't guess, any bills in that regard. But you still have property taxes. And you still have, we won't have a gas bill. And then you still have the maintenance of the property to keep up. So that's no joke. Because you in effect become your own electrical company and your own water company and all that stuff. So my husband learned solar about, 10 years ago when we started this project in 2016. He started, familiarizing himself with solar. And so he does a lot of solar projects in the area. And so we're really good on the solar piece. We got that part, down and taken care of. But the water. So our plan B is a water catchment system. If we can't get these jokers out here to get a well for us, y'all, please come help us do a well. I hope I can find somebody this time. But I haven't looked in about 2.5 years, right? I gave up hope. I mean, we were on a list that just never seemed to get shorter. And so I just kind of gave up pestering them, but I'm gonna call them back again today and see what's going on. Maybe they're desperate enough to take on another client. But so that's the issue now, is trying to get water. But if we can't get the well, it looks like there's some springs on the property, but we definitely would do a water catchment. That's what we'll have to do. And a water catchment is where we have to set up a system where we are catching the water that falls from the sky and catching it off our rooftops and things like that, and funneling it into water tower containers type things. And we've bought a couple of those because we're thinking that's what we're gonna have to do. But I'm in a rental right now that's not far from the property, and my landlord is amazing. Love this dude. So it's not like I'm in a rush to get out there right now. I don't have to really get out there right now, so it does buy us some time. So I would really like to have a well. That'll make me very happy, because I don't want to have to be, nickeling and diming the water. You know what I mean? Don't flush the toilet. Oh my God, can you imagine? I can't live like that. No shade to people that do, We listen and we don't judge. But for me, I kind of want to make sure that I have my facilities operational with running water and flushable toilets. So that's kind of my thing. So I'm willing to wait it out in this here rental until we get a well. I think a rain catchment is cute, but I need a well. That's just me. So I don't want a lot of animals. I decided, at first I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to have some chickens and some goats. Goats are so cute. I'm going to do goat yoga, and I'm going to maybe have a cow or a cute dairy cow. I don't want any of that, because that means you can't leave your property. You are a slave. And for some people, they like that because they like to feel that they are prepared and they have all the essentials that they need on their property. They don't have to go anywhere. Worst case scenario, and the prices get jack high like they are right now in the grocery stores, they can eat off their land. They dig ponds to put fish in so they can fish. They have gardens that they can get their vegetables out of. They plant fruit trees. They create like fruit forests, things like that, where they have fruit trees growing out in the wooded parts of their property, right next to the maple trees and the red oak trees. You just have there's a peach tree. You just put your trees right out there. And so they'll have a dairy cow, they'll have chickens, they'll have goat, and they'll just have some meat chickens, as well as the ones for egg, and they'll just eat off their land. But I'm not trying to do all of that because I can't. It's not me. It's not in me, and I have to be honest about that. Maybe if I were 20, I'd be willing to learn all that. But now I don't think I want to do all that. But I do have a lady and a gentleman. I know two people that sell me eggs. I have a girlfriend that's a dietitian. She said, be careful about these eggs. I said, I know. But I get my eggs. I'm a very natural person when it comes to my food. The less processed for me, the better. I don't like a lot of heavily processed foods. I like the way they taste. I just don't think they're good for my body. And at this age, I'm trying to be about the body, So I'm looking for somebody with a dairy cow, because I will, for my animals. But anyway, I have a great milk I get from the grocery store that I love. I get that grass milk. Any grass milk I find, I get it. I feel good about that. Tastes fine. I'm good with it. So as long as I can get my eggs from someone, and I also have a co-op for vegetables. So somebody that has a farm in the area, they've set up a co-op, and I get my vegetables from them. So I plan on having what I call a kitchen garden. I think they call them kitchen gardens. And I plan on having a medicinal garden. So I plan on having a small kitchen garden where I have some herbs, some onions, maybe some tomatoes, things like that, peppers, things like that. Or, bay leaves and basil and oregano and thyme and rosemary, one of my favorites. And then I'm going to have a medicinal garden to have some things in that, things like chamomile, and have some lavender. So it's going to be stuff like that. And that's all I need. That's all I want. And that's exciting. So where we are now is we had to clear the property for like the third time. The first time we had to clear the property was so we could get out there, because it was just all trees, big trees too. Then the second thing we had to do was clear it kind of again to find a place where we were going to decide to put the house, the cabin. And so we found a place where we wanted to put the cabin, but that was still not a complete clearing. And we didn't want to clear it completely then because we wasn't sure how much of the trees we wanted to cut down. My husband wasn't sure how he wanted the lay of the land to look. But after we hung out with the property for a couple years more, he kind of figured out the amount of space he wanted to cultivate around, I guess that's the right word, around the cabin. And so now, as you can see, we've cut a lot of that brush and trees and everything, cut a lot of stuff down. And so now we are at him. He's already installed the solar system. We just got to put the panels up. Now, he was going to put the panels up on an array, like the little poles and, stands that you see some solar systems on, because he builds those for people and he does the solar for people. But then as he thought about it, he didn't want to do that. He's decided he's going to have a garage and he's going to put them on the roof of the garage. And so the garage, we're thinking, is going to go by that little brown shed that you see on the property. That brown shed is going to be his shed, his man cave, where he does all his solaring ideas. And he's also an IT guy. He was an IT professional before he's semi-retired. And we came here and he got into solar. So he's going to do all his, solar and IT things in that little shed. And he's going to build a big, garage next to it. And I'm excited about that. I don't like the idea of a lot of different structures on the property, but I do know that there are things you need. You need covering for your cars and your lawnmowers and things like that. So that's what that'll be. But my task today is to just figure out how to start communicating with people to do a well for us. That's my job, is can you come out here and do a well? So y'all gonna have to keep that in prayer, because that is something. But I'm thinking maybe it got paused because it just wasn't time. Everything in God's kingdom happens according to time. It just probably wasn't time. But I think we're in the season for it now. But I wanted to touch a little bit before I let you go. I'm already in about 14 minutes. Is that, and I'll talk more about the being candid about how difficult building this cabin was on the relationship. And it's one of the reasons why I started doing some other projects. I got into some other things that I enjoy, because I'm ADHD. That's kind of what this channel has become. A lot about me talking about that and how to build a beautiful lifestyle, even when you are someone with ADHD. And I would just lose my mind when I would go out there on the property and see all the stuff, all the lumber, all the nails, all the trash, all the things that went into the construction site. Because we did a lot of this build ourselves. My husband helped everybody who was out here building on this cabin. He was out there building it with them. And because sometimes it was him trying to figure a lot of it out, there was no cleaning crew. We had no cleanup crew. We were the cleanup crew. And I'll never forget when we had to clear that land, me, my sons, and my husband. This was about maybe 4 years ago. And oh my gosh, girl, I was like, baby, we got to pay somebody, because we're not going to be able to do this. The amount of chaos on the property just drove me nuts. I'm one of those people that cannot handle a lot of clutter unless it's organized. Like back there on this coffee tea thing, that's my tea bags and what would be my cookie and my snack area. That's a lot of clutter. But for me, it's organized clutter, right? Everything has a purpose. When it's chaotic and scattered, and if I were to say have a pot over there, or if I was to have like a towel over there or a shoe over there, drives me nuts. I can't handle it. And so that's kind of what the property looked like. And so I would go out there and unknowingly, I think I would sort of pick fights with him. I wouldn't be trying to pick a fight. I would just be talking my thoughts out loud. And honey, as women, we can sometimes have chaotic minds anyway. If we're not grounded and not centered, our emotions can get the best of us. Our emotions are a gift. And I think they add a lot to our lives and the lives of our partners and our family and our friends. But if our emotions aren't grounded and we don't have control of them that day, they can create a lot of chaos and havoc. Especially if you have a peaceful man, a man that's logical, linear in thought for the most part. He's got his plan, he's peaceful, and then you come with your chaotic thoughts. It does not go well. And so I just felt like I just needed to not be out there as much, because I was kind of getting in the way. And I had to once again rely on that. You married him. You thought he was good enough to marry. You thought he was good enough to procreate with. And now you think he's not good enough to figure out whether or not this type of window or that type of window is better for this cabin. Come on, girl. And so once I got that reality check, I said, Lord, you're going to have to give me something else to do, because I really can't just give this over to him and not be involved without losing my mind, because I don't know that he's doing it all like what I would like done. And so the Lord just had to really work with me. And he said, I'll let you know when you can go out there. That's kind of what I had impressed upon my heart, because I was, like I said, creating a lot of havoc when I went out, because it was just too much chaos at the time for me to process it all. And in my frustration, I would make comments and I would say things, and he would have a vision and a plan that he would have shared with me. But when I get out there to the property, I would get all chaotic in my thinking, and I would say things, I would sabotage his plans unknowingly. I wasn't trying to, but that chaos and cluttered thinking that I had wasn't good for that setting. And so I said, honey, you know what? I don't think it's time for me to be out here yet. I said, how about you keep doing what you're doing? It looks great. I'm going to go work on some other things, whatever God has for me to do, whatever comes to my mind. And you let me know when it's time for me to come back out there. I said, but understand this. I don't really want to come back out here until we have leveled off all of this land to the point where I can handle it. Because what was happening is I would go out there and I would start trying to clean it up. I'm a chronic cleaner. That's how I manage my ADHD. Put it this way, I'm an organizer. I'm not really a cleaner. I don't clean a lot. Some people with ADHD clean, and some people are very cluttered and they're not clean at all. But I don't clean, but I do organize. So if I go in to his place, to the property, and I see he's got all this, I immediately want to organize. I kept saying, honey, can I just organize your tools? Can I just organize this? Can I put all, he would like, stop it. You move. I know where everything is, right? Because he likes to leave everything out. So he knows where it is. I'm the type of person that I like things to be out, but I like them to be organized. And he didn't want to do that. He was like, that's too much work. I got to do this, da, da, da. And I was like, you know what? I ain't even supposed to be here right now. Let me take my little behind back on over to the rental. And let me see what else I'm supposed to be doing right now. And so that's kind of how we've managed this for the last, I'd say, since 2022. I'll pop in, see how it's going, pop back out. You know, yeah, let's get the kitchen cabinets. Okay, I'll pop in. Okay, I like those. I pop back out. And so this is a big deal. And I'll tell you how it happened. My sons and I started feeling like it was time for us to get into this cabin home and stop dragging it out. And I told my sons, I said, you know what, I think we probably need to pray now because I think my heart is ready to start moving on that. And I think God wants us. Let's just go ahead and pray that we can get this land resolved because I can't go out there with all that clutter. And so my husband was once again saying, why are you so fixated on the land? I could just let me get the cabin situated and I'll deal with the land. But I said to myself, no, that won't happen. That never happens. People get into these homes with clutter about them in the land space. It stays there. That's what I see a lot of out here. And I'm not going to live out in the country on no cluttered land. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it me, and I don't want him to do it because I value his peace. I don't want my sons to do it. So anyway, I was starting to have a little bit of an argument with him because he was like, no, we're going to deal with the house first. We'll get the land later. And I said to myself, no, that's not how that's going to go. But this time, instead of fussing with him about it, you know what I did? I just went to my God in heaven. And I prayed. And I told my sons, I said, well, let's just pray that we could find somebody to clear this land. And so we just went into prayer. We just simply said, Lord, can you help us clear this land? Because we think it's time. We need to not be worried about snakes and bugs. If we're going to live out here, it needs to be safe and to the point where we can get out here and do what we got to do. And honey, let me tell you, it must have been the fullness of time because we found two people. One guy came, said he could do it. He was about $150 an hour, which, we were willing to pay, but he just never called us back. And it was like, I ain't going to be deterred. It'll happen in God's timing. Kept the little prayer on it, sent up another prayer. And like about a week and a half later, my husband said, hey, I know someone that gave me a contact of a gentleman that might be able to do it for us. And sure enough, this gentleman came out, honey, $75 an hour. And he showed up. And so for the last 2.5 weeks, he and my husband have been out there clearing that land, getting rid of the brush. Because we had gotten a lot of trees cut down. We just hadn't moved a lot of stuff. And so he had to cut down more trees, move more brush. And so it's where it is now. So I'm excited because now I can go out there. Now I don't have to worry about stepping on snakes and too many bugs. Because, honey, it is a buggy environment. We got to go out there and deal with all that. But so I'm excited. So now the next project, like I said, is the well. So that's kind of what I want to share with you guys is that part of the cabin journey. I don't have anything else to talk about today. I'm in my workout clothes, so I'm going to get that done because girl got to lose some weight. You guys don't know me, but I'm about 20 pounds overweight. Yeah, maybe about 25 pounds overweight. But some people say, no, you don't need to be any thinner, but my body is used to being thin. It's used to being smaller. And so it's starting to wear on my joints and it's starting to make me tired. carrying this extra 20, probably extra 25 pounds, to be honest. So I have to really be diligent about getting that off. So I'm about to go to the gym. But I just wanted to thank you guys for coming out here and sharing this little journey with me, where I can just share and talk about all the things that are going on in my mind. It helps me decompress. It helps this ADHD brain I have sort itself out. And I feel much better after I get off sharing with you. So I'll keep you posted on how this well situation is going. You guys keep me in prayer, because I think it's the fullness of time. I think God's ready to move and get me somebody that's going to get us a well in here. So, all right, that's all I got. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Have an amazing day.